Well, basic.
And that's basic.
It's so basic. Like we were saying earlier, there aren't any extraordinary people out here.
Right.
Everyone's dealing on a basic level of interaction. Nobody even, I don't think they really even know or have the spiritual guidance to even get above a basic level. They've plateaued in
Right.
basic, and that's what's causing some of the chaos too. You know,
Right.
with these people, and it's the same for women. Um, Women, or females, whatever you want to call them, um they think that, they get these degrees. I've heard men say this all the time. They get the degrees and they get all this stuff. I mean, which is cool, do what you do. But what else you got other than
Right.
the pretty legs? What else you got? What's your, when you introduce this term to me, I keep it. Yeah. What's your human equity?
Human equity. Right.
Your
And that's
value?
it. You know what's funny? Ever since we had that first conversation about human equity, now they're actually starting to use that term in the finance space. They might have used it before, but it's becoming global, and I'll explain. They're calling it human capital.
Mm,
And they've been calling it human capital, but
yeah.
now it's becoming, because you'll hear that in the HR department, but now there is something called the human capital index. And so
Hmm.
the human capital index is coming from the World Bank. And the World Bank is saying to various nations, you have to show how, health wise and through education, the people in your country are becoming better.
Mm,
And that will
yeah.
increase the value of your country. When they talk about per capita, the human capital and
Yeah.
what people are able to produce, and that will affect how your country will get loans from the World Bank. So now, for example, China has the one where they have the social score.
Hmm.
And the social score is saying, well, what um, are you contributing to the betterment of the Chinese people?
Exciting, yeah.
So although we use the term human equity so long ago, now it's starting to show in a finance model that the value of a person in a state, in a society, is going to be measured. So how do you measure yourself? Are you measuring yourself based upon degrees and pieces of paper? Because those are not the variables that they're using. They're using your health,
Hmm.
they're using your education. And when I say education, I'm not talking information to get through school. I'm
Right.
talking about the ability to use knowledge to better yourself and to better your equity and to better your family, not just better your finance and better how much house you can afford because your credit score. It's not just that.
Hmm.
It's really how can you better yourself to be a free agent and to be able to control your commerce.
Hmm.
So when we talk about people who are not extraordinary, they are using a scale, an old scale, to measure themselves or to weigh themselves based upon the things that you can buy. The scale is, especially amongst black folks, right? It's how much money can you have to buy the things to show other black people how well
Right.
you're doing.
Exactly. Oh, but now everyone is really talking, and they're talking about generational success and generational
Well,
wealth
yeah,
now. That's one of
yeah,
their words
new
that, or
catchphrase.
phrases, yeah, catchphrases that they're using. Nobody really know. They don't really know how this actually works. They're just talking about it. They think, oh, you work a job and get money and save it or whatever, or even real estate. Oh, yeah, real estate. You can say that, but they don't really understand that it's also the equity that you're pouring into your children,
Right,
which
right,
a lot of people don't have children, first of all,
right,
or don't want children. So
right.
what is it all for? If it's not all for your future generations, what is it all for? So they want to talk about generational wealth now, but they're still not pouring into things, that the main things that matter,
Right, but there's
or
no vision.
getting with, marrying for the right reasons.
Well, um, and again, goes back to what we said when I said that the value of of people, they have the value they have the value all twisted. So while they think that the things that they're doing is going to make them a more valuable person, they're actually losing value by the very decisions that they make. So the decision to say, I'm not going to have any children. Okay, so what does that look like? Or there's actually an app that allows a single woman to do her own peer-to-peer sperm bank and have someone drop off the sperm to have a child because she wants to have a child, and they can do a contract where she's pretty much taking random sperm and having a child. She doesn't need the man. They have that, right?
That's so disgusting.
You
I mean,
understand? And it obviously is working because the app is still active.
So do they get a history of these random men?
Who knows,
At least?
right? Who knows, right? Does it matter? Because going back to the value and the decisions, they're not looking at things that deep. They're looking at, got the job, don't need the man, got the child, gonna leave my house and car to my child, I'm good. There's no real framework of what's the proper or the appropriate way to do this. It's just like what they say, check boxes. Check box.
Yeah, that's what people are basing their lives off of check boxes. And it sucks because this is what feminism has done. Ultimately, this is where it's led, and most of the, what feminism looks like today is not what it looked like in the 60s or whenever people want to say, oh, feminism started for this and this reason, but it's not the same thing, first of all.
Yeah.
And then secondly, people are out of their minds.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the even let's looking at feminism, or even now, they say it's now time for women. It's finally the time for the women. Well, if we're talking about black women, when was it ever the time for black men? Not just men, right? But when was it ever, if you say, no, now it's time for women, now it's time for the black woman to step up, and I'm not against anyone stepping up, but when did the black men ever have their turn? Was it during slavery? Was it immediately after? Was it during civil rights? Was it during the 1970s, was it during the crack epidemic? Was it during hip hop? When was it ever we got to get behind the black men, let them have their turn, and then if they fail, then now it's time for the women. When was the black?
Well, I mean, that sounds good, but at some point, there's no room for, oh, when it will be my turn, black man. Well, when will it be my turn? No, you have to take your turn. Like that's the only way it's gonna work. Women, black women, we are here to support you.
Right.
But we're looking for you to step up.
To step up. Oh, right. And and I just use that as a talking point because clearly, the men who understand their role don't need anyone to give them the permission. The only sidebar is stop getting in the way. Stop wanting a good man and then getting in the way of him performing the role
because women don't know how to submit. They don't understand that concept of submission. They think, oh, I'm going to be abused like my grandmother and my grandfathers did. First of all, that's your grandmother's and grandfather's fault for allowing that type of abuse. We're not talking about abuse when we talk about submitting to a man. Submitting to his vision. The man has to have a vision to submit to.
Right. Absolutely.
But, anything with two heads is a monster. So we're not going to have this power couple with two bosses and two heads.
Yeah, it's pathetic. It's a pathetic power struggle. And
a competition.
If you are someone who understands your value equity, it's like, you know what? I don't have to do this at all. And I guess that's whether it's woman or man. Like, I don't have to do this at all. If it's not what you say it is, then let's not do it. If it's not what we say we're doing, let's not do it. But this conflict on very simple things. We're not even talking about should I remove a kidney or not. Okay, we're talking about simple things like being able to be heard. We're talking
Right.
about being able to be heard, being able to finish your point.
Right.
That's the stuff that we falling apart on. Let me finish my point. Let me
Wait,
express.
we can't even get past who pays for dinner.
Who pays for dinner? That's
So
true. That's
you
true.
have some high ambitions here, sir.
True. Yeah, very true. So that's what I see, man. I see that this illusion of value, and you know what? And it reminds me of, let's use America for example. America doesn't produce anything. Someone said, I think it was 50 cents, he said, America produced consumers.
Mm-hmm.
America's product is consumers. That's what it produces, right? So you look at America and you look at how arrogant some of the American perspective is concerning people in the other parts of the world. So they may be a little arrogant against the Chinese. They may be a little arrogant against the Indians. They may be a little arrogant against people from Africa. Anywhere else except for America, right? There is this arrogance. But the world, the Chinese, are a world power now. India was right behind it to be number one and number two. And so you look at how America's arrogant without really having anything except for military force to back it. And even that is questionable when dealing with people like China. And then you look at some of the people in America who thinks their value is more than what it is just because they have those trinkets that they're told to have. If you have the home, which you really have a mortgage. If you have the car, you really have a car note. If you have the degrees, you really got student debt.
Right.
That you're suddenly valuable because of these illusionary debts that you have and this great presentation, not knowing that the equity, the ability to navigate an autonomous terrain, to be sustainable, to be resilient, to know your order, to have a vision, to be able to collaborate with people, to not even understand that. How dare you think your value is so high just because of debt and the ability
Right.
to make your booty clap? Like, who told you that
I
was
mean,
value?
that might be a
I
cherry.
see.
That might be cherry on top, but
That might be a cherry on top, right?
right.
If you have some equity, right? But if all you got is a booty clap and $300,000 worth of debt disguised as visible
Value.
assets,
Yeah.
disguised as value, you're a liability and don't even realize it.